Hey guys! Welcome to my channel Top 5 today. In this bone-chilling video, we delve into the sinister realm of the top 5 most terrifying experiments ever conducted. Brace yourself as we unveil the shocking tales of human cruelty, scientific curiosity gone awry, and the horrors that unfolded within the walls of laboratories. Join us on this spine-tingling journey as we shed light on these horrifying experiments, hoping that by understanding the depths of human cruelty, we can ensure history never repeats itself. Are you ready to confront the macabre? Watch now and enter a world where the boundaries of morality and science were obliterated in the name of twisted curiosity. Number 5. Unit 731. Unit 731 was a covert biological and chemical warfare research unit of the Imperial Japanese Army that operated from 1937 to 1945 during World War II. Led by Lieutenant General Shiro Ishii, the unit conducted gruesome experiments on thousands of Chinese, Korean, and other prisoners of war, as well as innocent civilians. The experiments conducted by Unit 731 were notorious for their extreme brutality and disregard for human life. Prisoners were subjected to a wide range of inhumane procedures, including vivisections, live dissections, without anesthesia, infectious disease research, forced exposure to diseases and toxins, frostbite testing, weapons testing, and forced abortions. The goal was to develop biological weapons and gather data on the effects of these weapons on the human body. The victims of Unit 731's experiments endured unimaginable suffering and torture. They were treated as mere objects for scientific observation, devoid of any basic human rights or dignity. Using the test subjects, the scientists injected different germs to see how they would react to one another in the human body, in an attempt to create new diseases. Referring to their victims as machuras, or wooden logs, Japanese scientists would perform different types of procedures, such as vivisection, on live victims. Rats infected with the bubonic plague were released onto victims, with the intention of infecting the subjects so that they could be studied. Unit 731 was a place of torture that was, in the minds of many Unit 731 workers, a necessity in order to win the war. Scientists in Unit 731 also experimented on their test subjects through pregnancy and rape. Male prisoners infected with syphilis would be told to rape female prisoners as well as male prisoners in order to see how syphilis spreads in the body. Women were involuntarily impregnated and then experiments were done on them to see how it affected the mother as well as the fetus. Sometimes the mother would be vivisected in order to see how the fetus was developing. Many died as a result of the experiments, while others suffered lifelong physical and psychological trauma. After Japan's surrender in 1945, the activities of Unit 731 were classified top secret, and the members of the unit were granted immunity in exchange for providing their research data to the Allies. The information obtained from these experiments was highly sought after by the United States and the Soviet Union, as both nations were interested in gaining knowledge about biological warfare. It was only in the 1980s, decades after the end of World War II, that the details of Unit 731's atrocities became widely known. The existence of the unit and its heinous experiments came to light through testimonies from former members and surviving victims. The legacy of Unit 731 serves as a chilling reminder of the depths of human cruelty and the ethical boundaries that can be crossed in the pursuit of scientific advancement. Number 4. Stanford Prison Experiment. In the Stanford prison experiment, college students acted as guards or convicts in a mock jail setting as part of a social psychology research. The U.S. Office of Naval Research provided funding for the experiment, which was conducted at Stanford University in August 1971. The study's goal was to evaluate how role-playing, labeling, and social expectations affected conduct over the course of 2 weeks. But after just 6 days, the experiment was stopped by the lead researcher Philip G. Zimbardo because prisoner abuse had reached frightening new levels. After receiving more than 70 responses to an advertising for a psychological study of prison life, researchers chose 24 participants who they deemed to be in good physical and mental condition. The paid participants, who got $15 per day, were split into equal groups of guards and convicts at random. Guards were given mirrored spectacles that prohibited eye contact and were instructed not to physically harm inmates. In a fake prison set up in the basement of a campus building, inmates were arrested by real police and given to the experimenters. Then, in order to mimic the conditions of a genuine jail, prisoners were made to endure humiliations. Each prisoner was required to carry a chain that was padlocked around one ankle and wear a dress as a uniform in order to immediately establish an atmosphere of oppression, in keeping with Zimbardo's goals. The experimenters monitored and recorded each participant. The participants who were assigned the role of guards quickly became abusive and authoritarian, exercising their perceived power over the prisoners. They subjected the prisoners to psychological and emotional torment, including humiliation, degradation, and even physical punishment. The prisoners, on the other hand, began to experience severe distress, anxiety, and feelings of helplessness. The experiment demonstrated the profound impact of social roles and situational factors on human behavior. It revealed how individuals can be influenced by their assigned roles, leading to the adoption of aggressive and dominant behaviors or submissive and powerless responses. The Stanford prison experiment raised significant ethical concerns as the participants experienced psychological harm during the study. Since its conclusion, the experiment has been heavily criticized for its lack of proper safeguards and the potential for causing long-term psychological damage to the participants. Nonetheless, the study remains influential in the field of psychology, shedding light on the importance of ethical considerations and the power of situational factors in shaping human behavior. It serves as a cautionary tale and an important case study in understanding the dynamics of power, authority, and the potential for abuse in social environments. Number 3. Nazi medical experiments. The Nazi medical experiments refer to a series of cruel and inhumane experiments conducted by German physicians and scientists during the regime of Adolf Hitler and the Third Reich, primarily between 1939 and 1945. Under the leadership of Nazi doctors such as Joseph Mengele and others, these experiments were carried out on concentration camp prisoners, including Jews, Romani people, political dissidents, and other persecuted groups. The experiments aimed to advance Nazi racial ideology, study the effects of diseases and injuries, develop new medical techniques, and further the development of weapons. The range of experiments was horrifying and included: 1. Forced sterilization. Prisoners were subjected to forced sterilization procedures, including surgical sterilizations and injections of toxic substances, with the aim of controlling and eradicating specific ethnic or social groups. 2. Infectious diseases. Prisoners were deliberately infected with diseases such as malaria, typhus, tuberculosis, and hepatitis to study their progression, develop vaccines, and test potential treatments. These experiments often resulted in severe illness, suffering, and death. 3. Human experimentation. Mengele, known as the Angel of Death, conducted numerous cruel and sadistic experiments on twins and other individuals. These experiments involved genetic studies, surgeries without anesthesia, injections of harmful substances, and other torturous procedures. 4. High-altitude experiments. Prisoners were subjected to simulated high-altitude conditions to study the effects of reduced oxygen, leading to severe injuries and deaths. 5. Freezing experiments, in order to find methods of reviving hypothermia. Victims and develop protective measures for German soldiers. Prisoners were subjected to freezing temperatures and suffered severe frostbite, leading to amputations and fatalities. The Nazi medical experiments were clear violations of basic ethical principles, with prisoners treated as disposable subjects devoid of human rights and dignity. After World War II, many of the doctors responsible for these experiments were put on trial for war crimes during the Nuremberg trials. These horrific experiments serve as a chilling reminder of the atrocities committed by the Nazis and the importance of upholding ethical standards in scientific research and medical practice. The lessons learned from these dark chapters of history have contributed to the establishment of ethical guidelines and regulations for the protection of human subjects in research. Number 2. MKUltra. MKUltra, also known as the CIA's mind control program, was a covert research project conducted by the United States Central Intelligence Agency, CIA, from the 1950s to the early 1970s. The program aimed to explore various methods of mind control and behavior manipulation. The exact scope and details of MKUltra remain largely classified, but what is known is deeply troubling. The program involved a wide range of unethical experiments conducted on both willing and unwitting subjects, including individuals in hospitals, universities, prisons, and other institutions. Many of the subjects were unaware that they were participating in the experiments or were not fully informed of the potential risks involved. The experiments conducted under MKUltra included 1. Administration of drugs. Various psychoactive substances, such as LSD, mescaline, and other hallucinogens, were administered to subjects without their consent. The aim was to explore the effects of these drugs on behavior, memory, and thought processes. 2. Hypnosis and mind control techniques. MKUltra delved into the realm of hypnosis, attempting to develop methods for controlling and manipulating individuals' thoughts, actions, and memories. 3. Sensory deprivation and psychological torture. Subjects were subjected to extreme sensory deprivation and isolation in an attempt to break down their psychological defenses and extract information. 4. Radioactive and biological agents. MKUltra also involved experiments with radiation and biological agents, aiming to assess the potential for covert assassinations or incapacitation through these means. The program was mired in ethical controversies, as many of the experiments violated basic human rights and disregarded the well-being of the subjects involved. The revelation of MKUltra in the 1970s led to public outcry and subsequent investigations, including the Church Committee hearings, which exposed some of the program's activities. MKUltra serves as a disturbing example of the abuse of power, the infringement of personal liberties, and the ethical violations that can occur in the pursuit of covert intelligence operations. It stands as a cautionary tale, emphasizing the need for transparency, accountability, and respect for human rights in all forms of research and experimentation. Number 1. The Tuskegee Syphilis Experiment. The Tuskegee Syphilis Experiment, also known as the Tuskegee Study, was a clinical study conducted by the United States Public Health Service, USPHS, from 1932 to 1972 in Tuskegee, Alabama. The experiment's purpose was to observe the natural progression of syphilis in African American men, even though a known cure, penicillin, became widely available in the 1940s. The study initially recruited 600 African American men, 399 of whom had syphilis, while the remaining 201 served as a control group. The participants were never informed of their diagnosis and were led to believe that they were receiving free healthcare for bad blood. Over the course of 40 years, the researchers deliberately withheld treatment from the infected participants, despite their condition worsening and the availability of penicillin. This unethical decision resulted in severe health consequences for the men and even led to the transmission of the disease to their partners and offspring. The Tuskegee study violated numerous ethical principles, including informed consent, beneficence, doing no harm, and respect for the autonomy and dignity of the participants. The experiment continued even after the development of penicillin, which could have effectively treated the participants, resulting in unnecessary suffering and death. The unethical nature of the study eventually came to light in 1972, following an exposé by a journalist. The public outrage and scrutiny surrounding the Tuskegee syphilis experiment led to significant changes in research ethics regulations and the establishment of guidelines to protect the rights and well-being of human subjects. The legacy of the Tuskegee syphilis experiment serves as a stark reminder of the importance of ethical conduct in research and the need for safeguards to prevent the exploitation of vulnerable populations. Efforts have since been made to ensure that research studies prioritize the well-being and rights of participants, emphasizing informed consent and strict ethical oversight. There is one more experiment, though fictional, but originated as an online creepypasta. It describes a disturbing experiment conducted by Soviet researchers in the 1940s, involving the prolonged sleep deprivation of 5 prisoners. According to the fictional narrative, the experiment took place in a secret Soviet facility during World War II. The prisoners were subjected to an experimental gas that kept them awake for an extended period of time. The goal was to observe the effects of sleep deprivation on the human body and mind. As the experiment progressed, the prisoners began to experience severe psychological and physical deterioration. They exhibited symptoms of extreme paranoia, delusions, and hallucinations. The prisoners became increasingly unstable and violent towards each other, with reports of self-mutilation and cannibalism. The researchers monitoring the experiment observed the subjects' descent into madness with a mixture of curiosity and horror. They noted the prisoners' deteriorating physical appearance, emaciation, and the stench of bodily waste in the chamber. As the experiment approached its designated endpoint, the researchers decided to terminate it prematurely due to the alarming condition of the prisoners. However, when the order was given to turn off the gas, the subjects reacted violently, pleading to be kept awake. In a frenzied state, they fought against the researchers, resulting in a chaotic and horrific scene. The story concludes with a chilling revelation that the gas used in the experiment was designed to keep the subjects awake indefinitely, but the true purpose of the experiment and the identity of the researchers remain unknown. It's important to reiterate that the Russian sleep experiment is a work of fiction. While it may captivate readers with its dark and disturbing nature, there is no factual basis for the story. It's essential to critically evaluate information and differentiate between fictional stories and real historical events. In conclusion, the top 5 most terrifying experiments ever conducted serve as a chilling reminder of the depths of human cruelty and the ethical boundaries that can be crossed in the pursuit of scientific knowledge. These experiments, ranging from the Holocaust medical experiments to the unethical practices of Unit 731, the Stanford prison experiment, Nazi medical experiments, and the MKUltra program, reveal the harrowing consequences when ethics and human rights are disregarded in the name of research. These haunting chapters in history shed light on the importance of strict ethical guidelines and regulations that prioritize the well-being and dignity of human subjects. They serve as cautionary tales, urging us to learn from the past and ensure that such atrocities are never repeated. As we navigate the frontiers of scientific advancement, let us always remember the responsibility we hold to protect the rights and welfare of every individual involved in research and experimentation. May these stories of horror and suffering remind us of the value of compassion, empathy, and ethical conduct, as we strive for a future where scientific progress and human rights go hand in hand. If you liked this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for more creepy stories from the present and the past. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, adios.